From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Tonight, the Arizona temperatures heat up, increasing the threat for more wildfires, and there are now pollution advisories for the next week.
Plus, be fire-wise, how you can take precautions to protect your home as the wildfire danger increases.
And encountering a snake can scare anyone. One Valley organization offers classes to put people's minds at ease.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Tanaya Williamson.
And I'm Ellie Lumberg. Thank you for joining us. You may notice a thick brown haze over the valley today. That's pollution, and it's prompted the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality to issue an ozone advisory.
You may also see smoke in the north and east areas of the valley. That's caused by two wildfires. Cronkite News reporter Amanda Slee has an update on air quality and the fires.
In the summer, the Phoenix area can have an increase in ozone advisories as sunlight and high-pressure weather collide with volatile organic compounds to create ozone.
What we've seen this year is we've actually seen a decrease in the amount of high pollution advisories we've seen and the number of exceedance days we've seen. Last month we only saw 3, which is the lowest we've seen since 1980. So it's not related to heat, because heat is just a symptom of high pressure, calm conditions. Heat does not create the ozone.
The high pollution advisory is in effect through tomorrow for Maricopa County. Elevated ozone levels can be harmful to people with respiratory issues. ADEQ recommends you should limit your time outside if you have breathing issues, and they encourage you to take public transportation or carpool to reduce cars on the road. Now this hot weather presents another challenge: wildfires. We've already seen several burning in the state. We're expected to reach 110 degrees tomorrow in the valley, and that's prompted the National Weather Service in Phoenix to create a specific forecast for fire crews.
They need to know not only how hot is it going to get, but what are the winds going to do, because they can position their crews to stay out of the hazardous areas when the fire starts to spread.
During this time of year, one spark can cause a major wildfire as grasses and other vegetation dry up. Meteorologists and fire officials are asking the public to be cautious of cigarette butts and dragging chains, as both can cause fires. In the newsroom, Amanda Slee, Cronkite News.
As Amanda mentioned, the hot weather means vegetation dries quickly, posing a wildfire risk across the state. Cronkite News reporter Alexis Hermanson explains how one community gets ready for wildfire season.
The rain this winter in the valley and the snow in the high country was much needed, but meteorologist Matt Pace says all that moisture poses a problem for the summer.
The more rain you have in the winter just allows for all those grasses, those fine fuels, to grow faster. Then they dry out, and then you get those fires move very quickly through a lot of the dry fuels.
Once it dries up, just be careful with anything you're doing out in the desert.
That's because the fire threat is high. Fire Marshal Mark Zimmerman says more communities are working to protect themselves through the National Fire Protection Association's FireWise program, including Scottsdale. Part of Scottsdale's preserve area is natural open space land. The city used to not allow anyone to do any fuel management on this land.
With this program, we are allowing people to go into that land, not strip it clean of growth, but do fuel management in that area.
There are more than 100 communities in Arizona that take part in the FireWise program. 11 are in Maricopa County. Residents who live in a FireWise community must clean debris off their roofs, keep trees pruned back and off their homes, and clear a path around their yards.
The concept of the 30 feet is fire's coming down the hill toward your house or across that desert toward your house. When it hits the defensible space area, it should slow down.
Ancala West in Scottsdale is one of the communities in the program. Bonnie Corneal is their FireWise chairwoman. She says at times some community members don't like to abide by the rules to become FireWise.
People need to understand why it's important to protect all of us, because if a fire starts, it spreads very quickly. And as close a proximity as these homes are, we all have to be engaged.
The first time in, it's a lot of work for most places. After that, it's just maintenance, no different than mowing your lawn.
President of Oncala West, Stanley Bronstein, says people wonder why other community members care about what they do with their private land.
Even if my house is not in jeopardy, I don't want to see your house burn down. I actually care about you.
There are some ways to prevent wildfires without being in a fire-wise community. Make sure campfires are completely out before leaving. Don't throw lit cigarettes out. Keep grills away from your home as flames can become trapped under the patio. Don't pull over into higher grasses as your car is hot underneath and can easily start a fire. In Scottsdale, Alexis Hermanson, Cronkite News.
Scottsdale residents can call their local fire department to have someone come to their home and give them fire safety tips. After an ongoing battle, the U.S. and Mexico reached an immigration deal on Friday.
The negotiations were prompted by President Donald Trump's threat to impose growing tariffs on Mexico in response to the border situation. The Mexican government has pledged to deploy their National Guard nationwide with a focus on the southern border. Another key to the deal is a program to keep asylum seekers in Mexico while their claims are processed. According to the officials, the Mexican government is working faster to try and deter migrants. Acting Homeland Security Secretary Kevin McAleenan weighed in on the deal.
The president put a charge in this whole dialogue with Mexico with the tariff threat, brought them to the table. The foreign minister from Mexico arrived within hours. He arrived the next day with real proposals on the table. This is the first time we've heard anything like this kind of number of law enforcement being deployed in Mexico to address migration, not just at their southern border, but also on the transportation routes to the northern border and in coordinated patrols in key areas along our southwest border.
President Trump says as long as Mexico tries, this will be successful for both sides. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi accuses the president of failing to address the humanitarian situation at our southern border.
The Supreme Court today left intact a federal law that requires the registration of some firearms, including silencers. The justices also declined to consider whether firearm accessories like silencers are protected by the Second Amendment. A silencer was used during a recent shooting in Virginia Beach, and President Trump said he'd look into restrictions on gun silencers. Some gun rights advocates argued the accessories should be protected under the Second Amendment, but the justices agreed with the appeals court ruling that silencers are not a bearable arm, so do not qualify for constitutional protection.
Arizona's Attorney General is hiring 4 people dedicated to investigating alleged voter fraud. This was prompted by accusations from President Trump of election tampering. Arizona State Attorney General Mark Brnovich says he isn't setting out to find support for those claims. He wants to give people confidence in the outcome of elections. The new budget signed by Governor Doug Ducey includes $530,000 for the project. You may want to check your freezer.
There are 2 recalls to tell you about. Coming up, the products you need to watch out for and what's behind the concern.
Also ahead, a music program that helps kids who can't communicate speak their first words. That story and more next.
Here at Cronkite News, we have producers who craft shows that make an impact on our community. Our broadcasts allow students to be involved in all levels of production, from producing to directing. We are guided by highly respected professionals who mentor the journalists of tomorrow. From technical directing to teleprompting and beyond, our production crew works tirelessly to produce meaningful and award-winning shows. We are Cronkite News on Arizona PBS.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
Kroger-owned stores across the country are recalling the store-labeled frozen berries as they may be contaminated with hepatitis A.
The company says they've removed the remaining frozen berries from store shelves at Kroger's, Fry's, Ralph's, and other grocery store chains. They recall the berries are labeled as private selection and include frozen triple berry medley in both 16 and 48-ounce packages and 16-ounce frozen berries. There are no reported illnesses as of right now, but customers are being told to throw out these frozen berries if they purchase them. Along with many other states in the country, Arizona is experiencing a hepatitis A outbreak in 8 counties. Cronkite News reporter Jesse Jo Pauly explains who's impacted.
According to the Arizona Department of Health Services, there have been more than 350 hepatitis A cases so far in Arizona. These cases are primarily among at-risk individuals, including drug users, people experiencing homelessness, and those recently incarcerated. In about 80% of these cases, people have been hospitalized. Hepatitis A is usually transmitted through food or drinks contaminated by microscopic amounts of stool from an infected person. The virus can also be sexually transmitted. The Arizona Department of Health Services says the best way to protect yourself from hepatitis A is through vaccination.
We recommend that anyone 1 year and older get a vaccine if they're going into a child care setting, and then food service workers might want to consider hepatitis A vaccine, as well as those who use drugs or experience homelessness, or if you're a healthcare worker. And you can also prevent hepatitis A through hand washing.
The Arizona Department of Health Services says if you are experiencing fevers, nausea and vomiting, abdominal pain, and yellowing of the skin and eyes, get in contact with your doctor immediately and wash your hands regularly. In the broadcast center, Jesse Jo Pauly, Cronkite News.
Another food recall to tell you about: Tyson Foods is recalling nearly 200,000 pounds of chicken fritters. The company says the fully cooked whole grain golden crispy chicken chunk fritters may include hard plastic. The product shipped to 29 states, including Arizona. No injuries or illnesses have been reported. Officials say schools and other facilities with the fritters still in their freezers should throw them out or return them immediately. The Sound of Music provides therapy, and the stroke of a key can make a difference to someone with developmental disabilities. Cronkite News reporter Imani Stevens shares how the tune of a beat helps some people find their voice.
Hey Jude, don't be afraid.
When you're in music, you have to pay attention and you have to be present. And a lot of times it's hard. As you can see right now, he's kind of off in his own thing. But when he's in music, he's with you and listening and participating.
Where the sound of the music integrates into learning. Denning Davis says he's seen improvement in his son, Dustin's development. His father says Dustin hasn't been classified as autistic, but is severely speech and partly sensory delayed.
I like listening to him go at it and see his progress and development.
Music therapy is the evidence-based use of music in a clinical setting to affect non-musical goals or outcomes.
And those are the goals that Taylor Page, a music therapy intern with Higher Octave Healing, works on with her clients.
Really, an important part of music therapy is knowing what the preferred music for the client is. So his preferred music is a lot of the 80s rock and roll, so Journey and Queen. Is really great in music therapy because he has a love for music.
A love that can translate to learning.
Sometimes there are little breakthroughs, sometimes there are like aha moments. I have seen children on the autism spectrum who've spoken their first word for the first time in a music therapy session.
I can't remember exactly when, but I had almost given up hope. I would try and say words with him, and for him to all of a sudden begin to say words, that was a miracle to me.
And that sign of development, speaking, listening, and interacting make all the difference for Dustin's development. In Tempe, Imani Stevens, Cronkite News.
The Therapy Rock Band program is popular with older students. Besides rocking out, the program teaches skills like decision-making, planning, and other life skills. Snakes are usually a cause for concern,
especially when you hear a rattle. We'll tell you about a Valley organization that teaches people safety measures when they meet a snake next.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
Millions of people die every year from drinking dirty water. I would never have felt I had the ability to do something without ASU pushing me. We built filtration systems out of local materials with the people. To see those kids drink clean water for the first time, it's the most rewarding feeling that you can ever have. I went to ASU because I wanted to change the world. The thing I never would have expected is how the world would have changed me.
Stay in the know on the go. At Cronkite News, we work hard to report the facts and keep you updated, whether we're on set or on the scene.
Taking it from the studio to the field. So I'm here in South Phoenix.
In Phoenix, we're just a click away. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Crossing paths with a venomous snake is probably not on your list of things to do this summer.
But if you do, the Phoenix Herpetological Society offers training classes on how to handle the animals. In the desert, hearing the sound of a rattle usually means move away. But at the Phoenix Herpetological Society, people learn to coexist with the animals.
We spend about an hour and a half in the classroom just talking about snakes, kind of addressing some of the common misunderstanding and myths that go along with snakes.
Joe Himes is the venomous curator. He teaches classes on how to handle animals like rattlesnakes. Inside the classroom, participants start off with non-venomous snakes before moving on to the real deal.
But the main reason why we start off with a non-venomous snake before moving on to the rattlesnake is just to make sure that everybody really understands what they're doing. So it's the part of the tail that people refer to as the coon tail. This is black and white like a raccoon's tail. Look for some of the classic mistakes of not holding the lid right, not holding the tongs right, things that might lead to the snake being injured. That way when it's a venomous snake and there's something on the line, if somebody gets bitten, hopefully their confidence is already there and they know what they're doing and everybody can be safe about it.
For beginners, the class offers peace of mind.
I wanted to take the class because I had actually encountered a snake on my property before, and I love to hike, so encountering snakes does happen in my life.
And for those who are more comfortable handling snakes, the class still has benefits.
Mainly today was just to kind of like get the ball rolling on like trying to work with venomous snakes, because snakes are my thing and I'd really like to kind of go into that and basically just get more experience. This was really exciting to go through today.
Samantha Dodd volunteers at PHS, but hopes to be the person you call when there's a snake that needs to be scooped up.
So I was really kind of just trying to work towards moving towards that, because you have to go through this class first before you're able to actually go out and do rattlesnake removals and stuff.
Eve Hall just wants to be more comfortable when she's out enjoying the desert.
I feel much more confident. I feel like I could do it now, I think even if a snake was a little more aggressive than the one I handled, I kind of feel confident in the distance that I need to be and the possible ways that the snake might move. So that makes me feel more confident as well. And just knowing that I can always take a step back.
The Society offers classes through November and invites anyone who's curious to participate.
I think our spring's nice weather has definitely ended as we continue to hit triple-digit temperatures over the weekend.
That's for sure. Emily Keenan has the latest updates on our Arizona forecast. Emily, what are we looking at? Are we looking at more triple digits?
Thanks, guys. So we're looking at state highs right now. You're absolutely right. We're staying in that 107 area in Phoenix. Gila Bend's going to be 108. If you want to be a little bit cooler, head up in the north to Grand Canyon, Flagstaff area. It's going to be upper 70s, low 80s. So that's been around a 30-degree range across the state for highs today. So that's insane. Now looking at our day planner tomorrow, if you wake up pretty early, it's still going to be a scorching 89 degrees at 8 a.m. That temperature is going to climb all the way to 107 by 4 o'clock. Now today starts Monsoon Awareness Week. Just be aware we've entered monsoon season in Arizona. That's going to go all the way through September, so let's be flood safe. Looking at the rest of our week, we're seeing some cloudy skies here. That's going to trap the heat in, so it's going to be 112 degrees on Wednesday, 110 on Thursday. For the rest of your week, those clouds are going to kind of disappear. The temperature is going to drop to 104, going to stay pretty consistent. Stay hydrated, guys. In the Weather Center, I'm Emmy Keenan.
Jupiter is so close to Earth right now, you can see its moon with nothing but binoculars. And tonight is the best night to view them. NASA calls this once-a-year event the opposition. That's when Jupiter, Earth, and the Sun are arranged in a straight line with Earth in the middle. When that happens, you can use a telescope or binoculars to spot Jupiter's 4 largest moons. This month, NASA said Jupiter will be at its biggest and brightest, and will be visible in the sky all night. Soccer fever is heating up in Paris.
And for those of us in Arizona, there's some added excitement. Coming up, we introduce you to the Women's World Cup player who grew up right here in the Valley.
With wildfires, a scarcity of water, and other environmental issues facing the Earth today, it's critical to stay up to date with local impacts of a changing climate. That's why we created Elemental, Covering Sustainability, a multimedia collaboration between public television and radio stations. From climate change to water conservation to renewable energy and much more, Elemental covers the latest in sustainability news. Find our stories on our website, elementalreports.com.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
The Women's World Cup soccer tournament is now underway.
And there's an Arizona connection to the games in Paris. Jessica McDonald is one of 23 athletes on the United States women's national team. She was also born and raised in Phoenix. She played on the Sereno Soccer Club and eventually played soccer at the University of North Carolina. She's the only mother on the team. Son Jeremiah is now 7. Team USA's opening match is tomorrow against Thailand.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we will hear from 2 local women engineers about a prestigious award they both recently received and about efforts to increase the number of women in engineering. That's on the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, stone by stone, rebuilding the Washington National Cathedral following a devastating earthquake. That's Monday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.